All right, welcome back, everyone. We are live streaming Friday. This is our first one with Emily back from the Vegas event, year three recap. So, you recovered yet?
Yeah, I'm good. We're chilling. I think other people partied harder than we did.
Okay. I'm gonna let you. Justin is looking for the link, so he can't find it.
Okay.
So maybe you can touch on your thoughts on the event. It was your first time. This was year three, but your first one that you attended. So how was it for you and your husband Dallas?
I think that the coolest thing was talking to all the people that are investing in so many different ways, in so many different areas that are working for them. It's interesting because you see all this stuff online about different hot button topics. And if you're not in an area, you don't know. So, for example, you see a lot of people say, you can't invest in California. It's an impossible task to invest in California. And then I talk to people who are investing in California. And it's hard to invest in Washington and Oregon and high cost of living areas. And then you talk to people who are investing in Washington and Oregon and high cost of living areas, or people that have been doing stuff forever that is the trendy or cool thing now, because of course everything is pad split and rent by the room and all that. That's the trendy thing, like Airbnb was. It will shift and go away. But I talked to a lady who's been renting by the room for years because where she lived, that's what she could afford and made sense for her. So she rented out her places by the room, but did it to the extent that she could acquire a couple properties. And she's been doing that for way before it was popular and the cool thing. And so I just loved talking to all these different people. Almost everybody I talked to could have been somebody who had something valuable to share or present or share with the world or share at the event. So I thought that was really cool. And then the other thing that kept standing out in my mind is I think sometimes people think, like, my husband said he talked to somebody and they said, "Well, I don't want to post or I don't want to talk about it because I only have a couple. Who am I to tell anybody anything or teach anybody anything?" And I want to say a couple things about that. First of all, you might not have a lot of properties, but where you're at, that might be better than somebody in a really low cost of living area where rents are low, that they have 10, 15 properties, but they're not getting rents versus you being in a higher area. It was more expensive for you to acquire. You have more equity in it. You're making more income. So you might be better off than you think you are. Second of all, if I was starting my journey and all I saw was people who were talking about, I bought 200 units this year and I bought 400 units in the last 5 years, which cool, great, good for you. I would feel like that was so unobtainable for me. But the person who's talking about, I bought my first property and the next year I bought two properties and now I'm at three or four properties. I would feel like that was a step I could take and that would feel attainable to me. And that would be who I would want to listen to when I was starting. Because I think if it was like so big, I would feel like I could never reach it. So I just would challenge you, if you want to be talking about it and you want to share what you're doing with people, don't let that comparison make you not want to share it, because I still think you have a lot to offer and a lot to share with people that are in the journey or starting the journey or just closer to where you're at in your journey. So I just think there's a lot of people that have a lot of value to give that aren't giving it, not because they don't want to, because some people don't want to channel, some people don't want to post, but because they think they don't have something to give and they actually do.
All right. I think we have Justin. He was here, but I think Justin's here for good. So what's up, man? How's you recovered yet? I know you left what, late Sunday, right? You flew
I
out.
did. Yeah, I was staying in town Monday to meet a high school buddy, but he couldn't meet up. So I was like, well, let me just get out early. Went home Sunday night. Ended up saving a couple $100.
Oh, did we just lose Marc?
Oh man, we're having technical difficulties today, huh?
I
He's
am
back.
back. I am back. I'm back.
There we go.
All right. Yeah, so I know Justin was at the event all 3 years also, like myself. Emily was her first time. Sounds like she had a lot of fun. But for you, Justin, what was your take on it? Do you think the event is getting better? Maybe what kind of takeaways and maybe improvements possibly?
I think my takeaway the third year is really getting to know people over time. So then you can see, the first time you go, you meet people and then you forget the name. The second time you meet people, remember the name. Now the third time, I remember the name and what they've been investing in and what's their progress. And it's cool to see like people are buying more properties, people are starting YouTube channels, and so now it's more of a, in my mind, it's like a growing community where yes, we're focused on real estate one rental at a time, but I was appreciative of all the people that were building a channel and sharing successes on what they're doing. And you know after doing this, more in earnest just for this year, it is much harder than I thought it was going to be. And so when somebody else, has like 100 followers, I'm like, dang, that is really good. And I'm really like pumped up. I'm like, man, that's like double what I got, So it's like great to see that people are progressing, whether it's one follower, one rental, whatever that thing is seeing them getting those incremental successes.
To that point, I know, Emily, you have two YouTube channels, right? One has kind of taken off, and it seems like the real estate is a lot harder to gain traction. Is that what's happening for you right now?
Yeah, so I have the DIY channel, but that's also much older. That channel's over 7 years old, and I think I'm 16,000 something on that one. But that's also, I don't it's harder. I mean, over time I have more subscribers. If I watch my analytics, I have a ton of people that watch my videos that don't subscribe, which is pretty common in the DIY space because you might want to fix your garbage disposal, but like you never want to see me again, right? And so it's just you don't need it. And so my people will watch a video. They are super kind in the comments. Oh my gosh, you saved me all this money. Thank you so much. And I think that's the trend with DIY repair, renovation, construction content, unless you have like, hey, follow me through this full renovation, which I've thought about. I just don't really have the bandwidth to document that with how busy I am. So I haven't put the energy into that. The real estate channel obviously is growing much slower. And when I post a repair video versus a real estate video on my Instagram, it gets way more views. I mean, you can definitely tell the difference. But I do notice when I post a real estate video, the watch time is much longer and people are subscribing that are watching it. So it's more of a community versus, yeah, I'm watching this, but I'm not sticking around. So I think it's just a different type of channel altogether.
Did you find it that a lot of people knew who you were already when you got to the
I had
event?
a handful of people, but I think it was probably more from being on, sorry, I have a Band-Aid unraveling off my finger. It was probably more from being on your channel, I think, than being on my channel.
Did that make it easier for you, you think, when you got to the event that kind of people knew who you were and kind of knew your story a little bit?
I mean, I can talk. I don't. I can talk to anybody. If we're talking about real estate, like, this would have been like a medical device conference. I would have just like eaten and not talking to anybody. But like, if like everybody there wants to talk about real estate, like, okay, cool.
What about you, Justin? I know this was year three for yourself, and I think Zuber has posted it already in the school community, kind of what his mistakes were and what he's looking to address. But what is your takeaways from how the each year it's going, I guess?
I always make fun, but our mutual friend of Chester asks a lot of questions. So I was saying he should be limited to 10 questions for the conference. But in terms of like what to improve, I like more and more of the interaction amongst the team members. I mean, I know that it's a good spot for it's a win-win. It's a spot that he can use and also helps out the cause. But I'm not a big fan of that space. It's not. It's harder for us to interact and break away. So if there was, because in a typical, your more hotel setups, right? They got the conference room and then the media right out the door. They usually have refreshments and you get those hallway conversations. So I did get some of those hallway conversations, but you're trying to keep it short and quiet because you don't want to interrupt the main thing. If it was, I know it's probably way more expensive if you put it into a hotel, but I think if you had more spots to do more networking, it would be good because it's one of those things like where, for example, I was trying to talk to Rob Abasolo, but he went and then I believe it was Pace or something that came after, and it's like trying to get the specifically the key speakers that you want to talk to. It's not always easy to get them. And then if you see them, like when I was next to him, but he was during the presentations. So it's one of those where if you have more time to connect with the speakers, and maybe it would be even something as simple as like the speaker goes into a room and then, for 10 or 15 minutes, and then people can ask him questions or something like that. But that would be my main feedback. The consistency, I love everything about that, keeping it now. And then even that he's like, hey, if you're going to do 4, you're going to do 5, so now we're getting the same crew, the same band back together. So that's pretty fun.
That's interesting that you're kind of the first person that I've heard say that the location itself maybe is not the best or best used. So that's pretty interesting. I think most people kind of like it, but you do bring up some great points there.
I agree.
Uh,
I agree. So first of all, the facility was great as far as the staff. I can't tell you how great everybody was that did the food, and they were just always smiling, and they would notice if someone wasn't eating something, even if they didn't have it. Like, I mean, they were just really, really nice and accommodating. So they were amazing. However, there were several points where, and my hearing is not great, I couldn't hear the speaker at all. And because people were talking so much in the back. And I just remember thinking, imagine if you were talking and you were nervous to be speaking, and you hear all this chatter, and and then, but literally, and I talked to a couple other people who told me, for a couple of them, like, I couldn't hear. And so I think you need to have a breakout room, or maybe more breaks where people have a minute to chat with each other and get it out of them, because there were points where the lobby, or even people standing in the back or upstairs in the stairwell, were so loud that it was significantly louder than the speaker. And it made me feel bad for the speakers out of respect, but also the people that were paying $300 to $600 to be there could not necessarily hear everything. So there's got to be a way to rein it in but if those people separate and then they're not watching the speakers, that's not good either. So maybe peppering in a few more breaks or something where it's like when you let a kid go to recess. I don't know.
yeah, me and Yasik maybe will apologize then for her talking in the back and making a lot of noise, but that was probably us a little bit.
It was a
But
ton of people
yeah,
though.
yeah. But everybody likes to point out me and Yasik.
Well,
But
you
yeah,
want to be close to the action, right? And so you're kind of there, and then like it's just so happens when that person you want to talk to goes right in front of you, you're like, oh hey, I've been wanting to talk to you, right? And so usually if you're like in the hallway right before you go in, then you just hang out in the hallway. So one of the ideas, even if you keep it at the blind center, you could put a remote TV, so like you're recording it live in whether it's the upstairs one, the back room, or where they had the lunch at for the half the group. If you had like 1 or 2 TVs out there, people could kind of and put the drinks over there, kind of a watering hole, if you will. People could congregate over there, chat, then come back. That might be better for flow and for etiquette, if you will.
yeah, I think those are all kind of brought up on another call and one of the other reviews on Wednesday with Joe and Lauren. I think something else is because it's being streamed, I think people maybe can Bluetooth it also. So they can put a headset on and watch it being streamed so you can follow along with the speaker. So that might be another option next year for some people. I think what was also mentioned was maybe the merchandise be in the lobby area. Merchandise and, like you said, Justin, the refreshments be in that kind of entrance area, so it's not in that speaker
It's got to
area.
be somewhere else, because when people were in the lobby talking, I was sitting in the back and you could hear the lobby was so loud, and there's only a curtain, there's no door. And so I don't even think that's separate enough. I didn't go upstairs at all. I don't know if there's rooms up there where you could have a breakaway room or something, but I think the area to congregate can't be in that lobby. It's just too loud unless they put a door there between now and next year.
Another thing that he did bring up is definitely, I'm not sure. I think Emily, you're a general, right? Admission.
Yeah.
Justin, I don't know if you're a VIP, but the VIP is something he really felt like he dropped the ball on a little bit. Were you the VIP, Justin?
Yeah, I think I've been VIP every time, and in my mind, typically the VIP is much higher, and I mean in price, right? The spread. So like for me, I'm like, yeah, it's not that much more money. I'll do it. Um, you're the good part about it is that the speakers eat lunch or dinner, whatever, when their time is. So that's a benefit. Um, but in terms of the seating's not great up there, right? Because like I felt like this sounds bad, but I felt like I was in prison because I was looking through those. I was sitting in a chair and I was looking through the wires the whole time, right? Because there's only a few chairs that are at the end, but still, if you're at the end, you're still looking through the wires, right? So, um, maybe the VIP is the front couple rows next year or something like that. But I know that he's doing that. He likes the mutual benefit. Yes, he has a conversation, and then he wants to donate to that charity. So I'd hate to see the charity lose money, but in terms of like flow of the experience, I think it would be better in your traditional hotel format.
I think the one thing he kind of did touch on already, like what you're mentioning, the speakers. So like year one was definitely a different experience because most of the speakers stuck around day one and day two. So you're able to network with them. Even the lunch and dinners, there was always like a speaker sitting at a different table.
Yeah.
This year seemed like a lot of the speakers kind of, it was Valentine's Day, and so they would come in for their presentation and they were gone. So there's only a few kind of presenters that were actually there for the lunch and dinners. So I think what he's trying to do for next year is kind of make it so that there's time before and after their presentations, almost like you have a networking with them. So if that's someone you want to speak with, they'd have like a breakout room with that individual for the VIPs. So there are some things that he is kind of addressed.
Yeah, especially he's getting some big names in there. You want to have him sign your book or something like that. One that I was really looking forward to was Jason Hartman, and he stuck around like 80+%, which I think he was the only one that did that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely think him and Simon were both there
I
both
mean, yeah.
days, pretty much most of the day. So that was very grateful for those two individuals staying. Emily, for yourself, I know, kind of want to know also like Dallas's, take on it, because Dallas is like he's kind of mentioned to us a few times, your husband, that he's not really into real estate, right? And he was there both days. He sat through the whole event. So maybe did he give you kind of any takeaways or his experience?
I kind of talked to him and because I don't want to said if you wanted to go to like a gun convention and I had to sit and hear someone talk to guns about guns for 2 days, I would go on the trip with you, but I would prefer to sleep in the hotel room and get a massage. Like, I don't want to go. I was like, because I don't want you to feel like, because even when we scheduled it, I said, I'll buy you a ticket. We have a car so you can come and go as you want if you don't want to stay the whole time. And he did. He stayed for all of it. And he just said he didn't mind. I mean, he still does not give two shits about investing in real estate, but he didn't mind sitting there. And I mean, if I continue to go to anything real estate investing wise, he'll still come and sit through it with me. But I also think he's pretty social. So I think the breakouts where you have the breaks to talk to people and just chat and socialize, I think he always likes to talk to people. And so, yeah, as far as the real estate, whatever, but
He's probably like, who are these weird guys with weird names that keep coming up and saying hi to you?
well, it was funny because I talk about him so much. So they knew that, that was my husband. So everyone, said hi to him too and introduced themselves to him. So no, it was good. Again, like, is he converted to real estate love? No, but I didn't think that was going to happen.
So Jeff, who was at the event, he says Chester's mission is to help make the speakers feel valued and to break the ice for other people to start asking questions. Yes, so I did touch on. I know we give Chester a hard time that he asks a lot of questions, but I've also said that it comes from a good place. He definitely knows the presenters spend a lot of time on their presentations, and he just doesn't want them to feel as if no one has any questions. And like Jeff is saying, it's kind of helped break the ice, right? So other people would jump in line. And I see Cody Davis here, who had a great presentation. He kicked off day one, and it seemed like the teenagers or that attended got a lot benefit, a lot of takeaways. And I saw Emily also talking with some of the younger crowd. Did they come up to you? I know I introduced you to one, but how was that for you, Emily?
I did just through her dad. Young kids are so quiet. Okay, hold on. I want to go back to Chess. Like, I want to give him a shout out because I do agree. When you speak at something and no one I don't know if any of you have ever spoken at something or taught something and you have zero participation. That sucks so bad. And I 100% got the vibe when I was watching him. I was like, he wants to make sure that everybody doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, no one's asking me. And once somebody starts, usually it kind of brings up other questions. So I truly did get that vibe with him that he was trying to make them feel. I thought that was an empathetic thing from him. So shout out to him because I got that same vibe. So no, okay, so young people. No, it was I talked to a young girl and her dad, I think, wanted her to be more interested, but it's I'm not a parent, but I think it's hard. It's hard. They got to decide they're interested in it for themselves. So, who knows? But I think as parents, we're probably all trying to get our kids to value what we value, and they don't always.
Well, Yasik helped one kid make a lot of money because the father he was paying the son $5 for every question that he would
Oh,
ask
cool.
people in the crowd, and so Yasik was like, ask that guy, ask that guy, ask that.
Oh,
So
that's funny. You
so
also got a finder's fee, so he got
yeah.
$1 for every question.
Nice.
No, I'm joking.
Um, I do see Josh Burdick here, and I want to thank Josh. Josh is the individual that made all the 3D printed
Yeah.
one rental at a time homes, and yeah, so very cool. So I think hopefully everyone got one to take home. And I don't know, Josh, if you have any left and people want to reach out to you, maybe they can get some more. Hey, Sarah is here. Sarah was a year 2 speaker. Unfortunately, she was unable to make it this year, but she has an amazing story also. Before we maybe recap, let's here just get to Cody's question. Cody Evers was also not able to make it. He attended both year 1 and year 2, but he says, who would you like to speak within the community? So who would you want for headline? Okay, so before we maybe touch on that, so Zuber has mentioned possibly that he maybe dropped the ball. Maybe he went too big. Maybe he got away from who this community is. He kind of also he did have people from the community speak, but he's maybe wants maybe more input on that. So I think what he may do is have people in the school community vote or put in their top 3 people that they would like to see from the community. So maybe Justin, you can go first. Like, who would you like to see speak from the community, and who would you want for headliners? Maybe.
Community wise, like all-nighter hider. He's he's in all these chat groups and very active. I know a little bit about his story, but I think just to get what he's done from A to Z would be pretty cool to see his story. That's the main one I can think of. But the one that I thought was cool last year was Graham Stephan. So, because I think there's more and more as we're in this community, the overlapping of real estate investor to YouTube people is getting higher and higher. So more of these YouTube stars. One of them that was there before, the Think Media guy, I really liked him.
Which one, Sean Cannell or?
Yeah. Which ironically, small world story. I was in the coffee shop last weekend and he is there with his mom and his kids. So he lives in the same city I'm in. I'm like, okay, if that's not a sign for me to build up a YouTube channel, I mean, the guy that wrote the book on social media, I'm like, that's amazing.
And there is your YouTube channel in the chat. So if anyone hasn't, please go subscribe. And there's Emily's one also. So
yeah, I like seeing the more we can get of the people who are doing the work. So like Brandon, like showing the build stuff that he's doing. And Aaron, those are the cool ones where, I didn't get to listen to the whole Aaron one, but I know that he's doing that big assisted living one. Cause that's like something that there might be the only ones in the community that do that. So it's good to hear when you go to these conferences, you want to learn more about your specific thing, but then it's always good to learn about other new niches in real estate. The other thing that we really haven't covered on is just lending in general. So if there's somebody who's big into private money lending, that would be kind of cool to do. Because like at the end of the game, you could get all the real estate sold and then, or, sell it on seller financing, get a bunch of liquidity, and then convert that to whether it's long-term notes or private money lending. That would be interesting. So you could have like Beth from in the Northwest. There's a lady named Beth. I'm drawing a blank on her last name. It's Flynn Family Lending, so maybe her last name is Beth Flynn. But uh, so she'd be a great one, or anybody in the community who's actually doing it today.
And before Emily maybe answers, I have already told people Emily and Justin are going to be two of my three votes for next year. I haven't thought of the third one yet, but I'll definitely love to see Emily and Justin on stage next year. But Emily, I don't know about yourself. Did you think? Have you thought about maybe? I don't want to. You're a little bit newer to the community in to some extent, but I mean, as far as maybe who you've come in contact with, is there people that you would like to see on stage from the community, and who would be like a headliner you'd hope to see?
So, honestly, most of the people that I've spoken to at the event are doing something. And that's what's really cool is how many people actually are actively investing in such a variety of ways. I don't know if you're listening when I said that earlier because you're trying to get the technology figured out, but at lunch I talked to so many different people that were doing just varied things. And so, honestly, I think most of the people in the community would probably have something valuable to share if they wanted to and were comfortable with it. Because I know lots of people that invest, and if you ask them to speak in front of a group of people, they'd say, suck it, like not going to happen. They're just not speakers. They don't want to be speakers. And so I think it depends if they want to and we're comfortable. But really, I got so much joy from just talking to all the different people I sat with each time at a table at lunch. And so I don't necessarily have anybody specifically, but I think sometimes we look to some big name. And I think it's good to have the big names because for an event, even if you have one or two, it draws people in that maybe would like the community's going to come, but it draws new people in, or it gets you excited and it motivates you for something bigger or something different. But I think sometimes we look at people like they're different than us, and they're not. They're not going to tell you I mean, you might learn something, but they're not going to give you permission to succeed. They're not going to, you don't need that. What you have is within yourself, and you do the research, and each and every person in this group can do, if they wanted to and chose to follow the steps and put in the work, because we don't all want to do, like when Pace Morby talked about his schedule and his life. If you replicate the exact same thing, you could be exactly where he is, right? But most people probably don't want that life. And so if you want it and you do the steps, it can be you too. So I just don't love this. Oh, I need this. It's like I need permission from this big person to tell me I can do that. And I don't love that. But I do see the value in having them there. But there's not anybody that I'm like, oh, maybe I think maybe a mindset person. I think any event, you can always have somebody who's talking about either just business in general or mindset in general. I think that's about, like, we have a health person there or a faith person there. I think just a lot of our problem is up here. At least that's really what I'm working on this year. And I think somebody that really gets your mind right is really valuable.
I see Cody Evers also seconding Emily and Justin on stage. So, those, like I said, those are two people I'd hope to see speak. As far as a headliner, I think, and hopefully other people probably know this, but I have a feeling, and I'm hoping Anna Kelly is one of the headliners because usually she is a very fan favorite or community favorite, but she can never make it in February because it interferes with her daughter's volleyball schedule. So I have a feeling with the event now being in January, there's a good chance Anna Kelly will probably be speaking. That's just my um, intuition, but I'm not sure. But I have a feeling she'll be on stage, hopefully.
Who is Anna Kelly?
She,
Family lady, right?
yeah, so she's one of the regular. She's actually one of the first maybe regulars on Zuber's channel. So when Zuber first started his channel and he started getting the weekly people on, she was kind of the one like, hey, yeah, let's do this. So she's been on probably since the beginning, and she's been one of the weekly.
Who's a blonde lady? I always see a blonde lady on there.
That is Casey, probably brick by brick. She was at the event. I'm not
No,
sure.
I'll have to look. There's a lady that it seems like I've seen a lot, but anyway, sorry.
Oh, that could be her. But so yeah, so Anna Kelly, I believe she was in like I want to say insurance or finance, but she was a W-2 employee, and then she moved back in with the parent. She did like a house hack. She sold the big nice home, and then they bought like a fourplex, I believe, and they house hacked it, and now she's kind of like doing syndications, multifamily. She does like a whole bunch of Airbnb. Yeah, that's her.
The
Yeah,
one I was thinking of, the
yeah,
face I was
yep.
picturing.
So, and she's very well versed in her economic takes. So usually when her and Zuber are discussing us, a lot of the about the economy and that type of stuff. Yes, Sarah, we call her Sarah Goggins because she's very motivating. But Sarah says, I agree. I believe she's about Emily. Having an everyday people versus big names is so relatable. It shows people they can do it. Yes. But let's touch on real quick, because she does mention Pace Morby, and Emily, you kind of mentioned Pace also, and I think a lot of people weren't sure how his presentation would be. So, Justin, what was maybe your expectations, and then what was your takeaway after Pace's presentation?
So Pace Morby, I'm a huge fan of Pace Morby. I'm a YouTube University fan of him and literally dissect his videos. When I met him the very first time at a different meetup, I was like, I watched this video, and at minute 14, you talked about this, and I implemented it on one of my first creative finance deals. So I love what he does, and I'm a fan of him now. Obviously, the creative financing. I'm the fan of how he's running a business and operation, similar to how Zuber has a relentless determination, consistency. Like Pace Morby is just a machine. So like it's I like seeing people operating at a high level and learning from him. The way that he commanded that room, like, it was amazing. Like, everybody was paying attention. He was up and back talking to different, I mean, the skill level at the way he communicates is pretty amazing. And, even what his message about the having a goal and then putting stuff on the calendar, it's so basic, but it's the same thing as what I talk about is like, before you ever buy a house, you need to lower your costs, increase the income. But most people skip that over. And my biggest thing is I'm not, you know, I have a calendar and I'm looking at it right now, but I'm never consistently executing on the calendar. I'm like, man, if I just did what I said I was going to do, I would probably get 2x the outcome. So that's what I took away from it was like the ability to go at a high level for a long period of time, build massive wealth, the simple message of getting back to the calendar and being consistent and executing on that, and then just I guess you could call it a master or orator. Like the speaking skills that he has are at a next level. So as I want to do more speaking, is learning and seeing people in real life doing it. I thought that was pretty amazing.
And before maybe Emily gives her take, I think this is what a lot of people felt. So Gus, who I know wasn't able to attend, he's definitely going to be there next year, I believe. But he was watching it on Zoom. But he says I skipped pace respectfully, and I think a lot of people probably might have had that take or that feeling. But Alex, whose son also attended the event with him, but he says I thought Pace did very well reading the room. So Emily, what was your takeaways from Pace's presentation?
So I am not a Pace Morby follower. I know who he is, and I know people who talk about him in my area who do they do creative things and non-traditional things. That's not something I have done because I am risk adverse. And so I'd rather go a little bit slower and be able to sleep at night because I'm an anxious person. However, I like the I'm trying to be careful because there's ways where I diverge from him. I like that he is a go-getter and that he realizes, and I think people need to realize everybody is different. And this is what I love about Dion being such a big presence in the community is you have to identify what it is that you want and what your goals are. And so sometimes people see somebody like him and they go, oh my gosh, I have to be that. And it makes me feel less than about what I'm doing. And so I just want people to be really self aware because the life that he lives is probably not the life that most people want to live. That's like, I've talked about this before. I can't remember the book. So Michael Jordan had one trainer that trained him for what's that book called? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? It was like Tim Grover or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it Relentless or is
I
it?
think that sounds right.
Okay, so if you just Google Michael Jordan's trainer's book, and me and you were even talking on the way back from one of the get-togethers we've had, and like even talking to Gus just is doing it for the sake of doing it, right? Like he just wants to keep doing it. There are people who have I want to get to this amount of money, I want to get to this amount of whatever, and then I'm going to balance my portfolio and then I'm done. And then there's people that it's just you're kind of a psychopath and it's a game and you love what you're doing just for the sake of doing it. Like me and Dallas have talked about this. I don't want a lot of stuff. I want a certain level of security, but then there's an amount of money that I just feel guilty having. So once I get to that amount of money, I'm probably just going to start donating a lot of money to animal shelters because I feel shame about having a certain amount of money. But I'm still going to do it because I can't not do it because what else am I going to do, you know? And so when I first read that book and when I hear people like him speak, it makes me feel like it's okay to not feel okay. Someone posted it, relentless from good to great and to unstoppable, Tim Grover winning series. All right. So that book, that was the first time because I would have people talk to me and be like, why do you work so much? What's wrong with you? You're just greedy. You're just whatever. And it's nice to see that people are different and that's okay. And sometimes I feel like we need to see that to feel permission to be who you are. However, when somebody tells me, and I think he probably means to get in the room with people that are wealthier and then they can make business with each other and stuff. I like the people that are busting their ass to even get their kid in a dance class. So when you tell me I want to go to an even more expensive dance class so I can be around more rich people because I don't want to be around the people whose dads work during the week, that doesn't resonate with me. Like if you're busting your ass, so I'm so more on the micro blue collar hard work train that I just have a hard time when someone says a statement like that. And then I think we have this staff of people at this event who are catering it, who are cleaning the bathrooms and serving us food and doing an awesome job. And they're walking by hearing you make a statement like that. And I feel like it sort of devalues the value that they provide. And like, okay, I have a friend. He's a plumber. He's a plumber for a company. Him and his brother both are. And I'm like, you guys should go out on your own and start your own business and keep all the money. And he's like, no, I like working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, having a reliable schedule, having benefits, having whatever. And I can never find employees that stick around and do a good job because once I train someone, they go out on their own. So it is absolutely amazing to have those people that want to fill those roles, that maybe they want more work-life balance. And so the person that wants work-life balance can be an employee for somebody like him who wants to do all these crazy things. But without them, he can't do that. And so I just feel like the tone of the language, and I don't know whether he meant it to come across that way or not, but it was a little condescending towards the people that make a business and a machine like that possible. And I think it's really important to respect those people. So I just was a little put off by some of the language.
You mentioned Dion, so maybe before we kind of transition a little bit to the video with Dion and Brian Davila, I do want to agree with some people talking about pace. I definitely feel like he did a great job knowing his audience. So I have a feeling he did his homework, or he may have asked Zuber, who's going to be there, what should I avoid, this and that. And I definitely felt like he tailored his presentation to who was in the room, unlike year one when we had an individual at Ryan Pineda who spoke and he really didn't know who he was speaking to. So he was late to his own kind of event thing, and he basically didn't know who was there, and his presentation didn't fit the audience. And I definitely respect Pace for that. As far as you know, he came and he presented a presentation that kind of fit the audience to some extent. So I definitely think that it was a great presentation. Gus is saying, yes, Emily gets it. And I think Emily and Gus are cut from the same cloth. They definitely kind of relate to each other.
It's me giving Gus a high five.
But before, like I said, before I get maybe onto that video, but Steve from the Bronx asked, do each of the kind of, I guess, leaders in the accountability groups get together from time to time because they may see what are common issues and get a specialized speaker for those sticking points? Not really. I mean, I try to avoid the other accountability group people, the leaders. That's just a joke because I always give the breakout Thursday guys a hard time. It's because they canceled again on Thursday because the event was going on. But no, yeah, I think that'd be a good point. I think if we can, but that's also why I think maybe Zuber is going to ask the school community for their recommendations or their picks for who they'd like to see on stage, as far as maybe um, who they think can help or who has interesting stories that the community wants to hear and maybe needs to hear.
I do have one actually, and this is kind of a plug, but I mean, so me and Gus interviewed Steve Rosenberg. He's more of a business coach, but he did do property management for a long time. And our episode's not out, but our minds were like blown. I didn't even know. I've seen his names on things, but I had never watched anything he did. And Gus found him. We interviewed him, and I was like, phew. And so I have actually hired him to kind of get my shit together and some business coaching because I'm crazy disorganized. And that man, the way he speaks is just so dynamic. I mean, I think he has a real estate background, but also just business and no excuses, but kind and compassionate. I think he would be, obviously, I don't know who would be willing to or not, but I think he'd be a great one.
Where did I see it? Chris Webb is asking, Justin, do you think Pace delegates more, and is the delegation how he can accomplish more on his schedule?
Yeah, I just typed that out, a response to him. But yes, he's great at delegating. For those that were there and watched the video, he had a great take on it. He was like, women are builders and they want to help people build. So like everybody that's on his leadership team are women. Because he's like, every time I have a man on the team, they want to take it over or do their own thing or something like that, right? And I was like, oh, that's a good way to do it. So he definitely has a lot of people he can delegate to. But I think his other thing that is just as impressive is that he puts out into the world what he wants, right? At the thing at the ORaaT, he was talking about, I wanted to buy, I think it was 4 mobile home parks that generated 50,000 or something like that. And okay, so now there's 300 people he just told that to, right? Every time he's somewhere, he's talking about what he's looking for, whether it's on a local meetup, when he's doing like 85 in a row right now, or when he's doing his YouTube videos. So, and he has like a website, so that's something like give Pace your deal or something like that. So he's got massive funnels of bringing him deals, right? And so he has people he delegates to do the analysis. So people bring deals, somebody then analyzes it, then he's just getting probably the cream of the crop. So that's how he's able to take his very highly leveraged time to do only the best things, right? So I think that's his secret. And, he's built that up over the time. Like when he was a contractor, it was probably not as, that skilled at it. But now he's just great at people skills and getting out to the world exactly what he wants. And then the world brings it back to him.
Like I said, Emily brought up kind of Dion being a big pillar in the community, and a lot of people may know that he interviewed Brian Davila, who Zuber was kind of ambushed on Ryan Pineda's channel. Ryan Pineda and Brian Davila had a discussion a few weeks back with Michael Zuber about rentals not working, I guess, anymore. And for those of you that are in the school community, you have a exclusive video there from the podcast room where Dion and Brian had a discussion. So, Justin, did you have a chance to take a peek at that video?
Yeah, I watched it this morning. My thoughts are it wasn't, I thought it was going to be much worse based on what I was hearing about it. And when I watched some of what I watched yesterday's Daily Financial News, and where he brought up like where he was called a fake and stuff. It did happen, but I thought it was going to be like, a lot. My takeaway is that in the room it was already charged, meaning, so there was that one a couple weeks back. So like, Dion's there. He's already emotionally charged, I would imagine, because like he was attacking Zuber in the other one, right? So you could tell there was tension there, right? And then on Brian's side, I think what his whole main point was, like, we're talking about one rental time on one side, and then Brian's talking about being an entrepreneur. And his thing was that if you own rentals, you are an entrepreneur. Why? Because you have a business. You're operating, money's coming in, money's going out, you have taxes. It's not you, personally. So like I get his point of it. Now, in terms of the average Joe audience, it's Dion is like the guy, the Total Money Makeover. Who's that guy?
Caleb, the Caleb guy that your money's all screwed up and
No,
he's about it.
no, I'm talking about Dave Ramsey.
Oh,
So
oh.
you don't think of Dave Ramsey. His model works for literally everybody, right? And then Brian is like, a very specific, like maybe more of a higher end finance person per se, right? There's just two different people there, and they're both explaining it, and they both have, I think, good points about it. But when I very finished the video, then I was like, it was like watching a Democrat and a Republican. No matter what each one said, they're like, they love their side more, and then they would say why their side's great, and so so there was a lot of going back and forth. There was a lot of emotional. I thought it was great entertainment to watch it, and because a lot of these are very cordial and stuff, so there was more dynamics to it. That and then at the end, obviously the prayer session. I thought that was very interesting take on it. So I actually snipped a picture of it and sent it to Dion because they're praying there, and Brian's got his eyes closed, and then Dion's got like laser beams coming out. That was nice.
So I know Emily hasn't had a chance. She's been kind of busy catching up, returning from the event. But just from hearing what Justin said, and I think one of the big takeaways is one of it is being an entrepreneur and being a kind of a W-2 to build wealth. I mean, so like I said, you're a little bit newer to the community, but what would be your take if you saw Zuber? Is he an entrepreneur or is he someone that built wealth through his W-2?
Well, I don't know his actual situation, but I would imagine that he built wealth through his W-2 because he was I didn't know how much money he made until I watched that first interview with everybody else. And here's the deal, you can be both, right? And so now, if he made as much money as he made and then did not move on to be successful, it would 100% be his fault, right? Now, if somebody works and they make 30, 40 grand a year and they build it into something, it's like, that's really, really hard. If you have a high W-2 and you don't invest and well, you don't have to, you can put in the stock market and be fine too. If you fail, then you really messed it up. And so I don't know what he has and what he's done and all that type of stuff, but no matter what, because of his W-2, he should be successful. Now, has he chosen to invest that in real estate? And then I do believe that real estate is entrepreneurship. Absolutely. But I don't really know like what his portfolio is or what he's bought or not bought and sold. Like, I don't know what his model is at all.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the biggest thing is Brian is trying to call Dion and Zuber entrepreneurs, right? Like they have, YouTube channels, they have a real estate portfolio and all these type of things.
And what, do they not want to be called entrepreneurs?
I guess now you could maybe consider them that, but to build their wealth, they were W-2 employees. And I think that's where the kind of discussion goes in opposite directions, right? So I guess the message, the kind of one rental at a time message is like Dion and Zuber are just trying to let the average W-2 person know, like, you can still build wealth and reach financial freedom without having this, I need to do flip homes and wholesale and make $30,000 a month kind of thing. So
Yeah, it's well, I think they're entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur. What I'm trying to do, and I think everyone's this way, when you own rentals, you're basically what's a solopreneur. Like you're operating a business and it's just you. So like for me with my real estate portfolio, it is just me. I mean, I have property managers and stuff like that. But then me on the agent side, I'm trying to become an entrepreneur where now I have a team of people. I'm trying to grow the team and then get virtual assistants and scale it up. Cause like I want to see how much what I can build. It's fun to see how I can build and then impact people's lives and have them grow their own portfolio as well. So for me, I'm trying to go to solopreneur to entrepreneur. And I think that's where Brian is. He was a solopreneur. Sounds like he went entrepreneur. Now, with the wholesaling thing, yes, you can make a lot of money, but there's a ton of people that don't make money.
Mhm.
And for me, I've been in the real estate a long time, and I paid somebody for a course, and I got great training. It took me 9 months to get my first deal. So, can you do right away? Yes. It's a volume thing,
Mhm.
yeah, with the amount of effort you're putting in, and then just calling the right seller at the right time. But I have like another friend that's in this Seattle area. I think he went over a year, no deals. And now he's just starting to get deals. It's awesome to see him become successful, but wholesaling is very difficult. But if you're doing it to have your W-2 job and you're wholesaling out the side and pick up a couple deals a year, yeah, you could be 50, 100,000 extra. That could help propel you into your one rental at a time.
And
Sorry. Oh, yeah, I
oh,
was just gonna say real quick, Justin. I guess this
Yes.
Jan Yasue is saying Beth Pinkley Johnson, Flynn Family Lending. That's who. I guess her
Yes.
last name is not Flynn, but
Yeah.
that is the lender.
I
Sorry,
totally agree
Emily. Go
with
ahead.
that.
I was just again, I haven't watched the video, so I don't know how aggressive anybody was and if feelings were hurt or whatever. But like, also, why does it matter? Like, if somebody called me purple and I'm not like skin toned, right? Or if you called me green, I don't care. Like, I'm not, and it doesn't impact me. So I think we need to also, again, I haven't seen it, so I don't want to, I don't think I can say too much. But if you want to classify yourself in one way and somebody classifies you in another way, and guess what? You're still rich and successful and happy. Who cares?
Yeah.
I think a part of it is more that like Dion and Zuber will acknowledge that if you have the skill set of Ryan and Brian, you can win that way. It works for you.
Mhm.
But I think on Brian's side, he's basically saying you cannot do it the way Dion and Zuber have done it 20, how they started their journey. So it's impossible to do it that way. So I think that's the biggest thing is Dion and Zuber are willing to admit, hey, if you have the skill set, the hustle and drive and that Brian and Ryan obviously have, then yeah, it can work for you. But for the majority of people, and I think Zuber talked about it on the Daily Financial today, but um, I think Ed Milet says what 9% of people are entrepreneurs or have that mindset. So
Right.
majority of the people may not have that skill set. And I guess from Brian's standpoint, he's saying, yeah, but you cannot build wealth as a W-2 employee almost anymore.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think they look at time differently because like Brian and Ryan are like quick money now, right? And and then Dion's more get rich for sure model, and both can work. But most people are not entrepreneurs, right? Like you were just saying, the 9%. So the message in they're great at speaking to their tribe, right? Because they only attract entrepreneurs, which which is great. A lot of their customers who are entrepreneurs are willing to pay a lot of money for courses, a lot of money for meetups, to golf with them or whatever they're pitching. So it fits their business model, and they're great at it. I don't know how much they make. I'm sure uh, Pineda, gosh, he's making millions a year. I'm not sure about the Brian guy.
did you see his new program or coaching, I believe?
Which one for Brian?
I think he bought a supplement or health
Hmm.
company or partner. So I think he's doing a high performance fitness coaching, building wealth type of program. I saw it. But our escape the rat race journey makes a great point. I honestly think so. He's referring to Zuber is both, but it's too far to call him fake. So the first maybe 8 to 80 units was 100% W-2, but he also flipped a lot of homes.
Hmm.
So Brian's argument was because he's flipped, he's not a W-2. But I do want to kind of also get to Harrison's question. I saw it here. Harrison had to cancel attending the year 3 event. Those of you that do not know, the event has been moved to January for year 4 because of Valentine's Day and Super Bowl weekend. So Harrison is asking though, what would you recommend for visitors for year 4? Should we go VIP? Emily, maybe you can go first.
No, so
Oh, okay. I'll go. I thought you were gonna
no,
say no. I thought you were gonna say you didn't want to go first, but
no, I was gonna say this goes back to my comment about the $200 more expensive dance class. Like, I hate, not that this is the people that bought VIP. I'm sure they wanted access to the speakers, but I hate this fancy, not fancy. Like, that is not my jive. And so for me, like, I will refuse to pay for that. It's just not like the way that I am. And everybody in the not VIP invested, and I got to talk to great investors and have great conversations. And like, so at the core of myself, like, I just can't, like, I don't care to speak to someone that's an important speaker. I don't care to get a picture with somebody. Like, I really hate like celebrity type stuff. It's just not my personality. And so for me, like, kind of at the core of it, who I am, it's almost like a protest. Like, I just can't. But to be fair, if there was ever an event where I had to pay for a VIP ticket to meet Dolly Parton, I would probably pay for it. All hail Dolly, right? But like, there's very few people that I really care that much. I mean, if they're a human being and they're going to talk to you and stuff, but for me to get to say, hi, let me shake your hand, I don't make more money off of that. I don't learn more off of that. So to me, like, that's just my personality. I just don't care at all.
Would you think we could get the food truck there in the parking lot next year?
It would have to be a very, very sizable investment to do that. I can tell you, it probably would not be worth what someone would pay to get us there.
All
We
right.
have gone to, we took it to LA for a tailgate for the Bills game several years ago when they were playing there, but it was a thing that like Josh Allen's family, and they were trying to do a tailgate with his friend, and obviously they did a lot for us to get into the Wing Festival, but yeah, no, it's unlikely.
So maybe when did you arrive in Vegas and when did you fly out, and would you change any of that? So maybe that you can recommend for someone for year 4.
Well,
Emily. Yeah.
oh, me. Okay. We came in on Thursday and we left on Sunday or Monday. And that was too long. Vegas, I'm not a Vegas person. So next time I'll just come the day before the event because I don't want to be scrambling, and I'll leave the day after the event, but I don't need extra time in Vegas. I'm not a Vegas person.
That's how I am too. Like last year, I think I went 3 or 4 times. I've been going to Vegas 2 to 4 times a year for a lot. I think I was in maybe 48 hours this time, which is like just the right amount of time. If you've never been to Vegas, you should go a couple days early. Because if you go to Vegas, usually the first night you go big, you're hungover the second day, and then the third day, then you can go to the conference. Would be if it was your first time. But there's so much fun stuff to do there as well. And some of the best part of this trip was that container park, going to hang out with other people, talking to them about me. I'm trying to build the YouTube channel, so talking to other people that have YouTube channels and talking to people who watch your YouTube channel and getting to meet the tag name with the actual person. That was pretty cool. So if you're I'm different than Emily. I like doing the VIP stuff. You do have to price it out too to see if it makes sense for you. But some of the best experiences of prior meetups, not necessarily ORaaT, other ones up in the Northwest. We're going to the VIP dinner. I remember one of my first ones where I got to the VIP dinner and I'm sitting at the table. I think it was Brandon Turner, Scott Trench, and I think it was David Green, I think, something like that. And I'm just like, man, I've been listening to these guys for like years on Bigger Pockets, and then they're literally right at the table. I was like, kid in the candy shop. I was so pumped about it, right? So like for me, that was well worth whatever the money I spent on it at that time. So if you're that type of person, because the speakers did go, at least the ones that were around the lunch and the dinner. I saw them in there chatting with people, having a breaking bread with people.
I think it's different maybe depending on how the event's structured too. Like if you have a seating and you're going to sit down and talk to somebody, but I feel like if you're having to claw past 70 other people to talk to somebody for 30 seconds, like the event you're describing, it was maybe a little bit more, I sat with them and ate with them and got to have a conversation and learn from them versus like, I just get to take a picture. That doesn't really move your business needle forward, right? So it's like, is this going to give me information I can learn and grow from? Or is it just like, I got a picture, but I still make the same amount of money and I didn't learn anything new? So I think it's what you get out of it.
Some of it is like, for me, like just being around greatness and people who are successful, look how they operate and stuff, whether it's Pace Morby or Zuber. and other people, Lumberjack, Dion, all those guys. So I like just to be around them, see how they operate, and it keeps me like energized and pumped up. As you know, because like if you're just doing one rental at a time in isolation, that's very lonely.
Yes.
So the biggest part about this community is that when we're talking about it together, the fact that you are still maybe 2-3 years to get your second one or third one, that's what keeps you going is this community, right? So like getting that little juice or energy from that group is what I like. And for me, like it's more meeting people who are doing it in real life or the people who have been super successful.
Not sure what happened. Looks like the portrait mode stopped streaming all of a sudden. But oh
Oh.
well, we're still live landscape, so that's a
Maybe
new
it's only
feature.
portrait for an hour because that just goes to Instagram. Might be a
Well,
shorter live
well, I
stream.
was streaming 2 ways on YouTube.
Oh,
In
can you
yeah.
only do an hour?
I don't know.
portrait?
Maybe. Yeah. So it, for some reason, just stopped. I just noticed that. But we're still landscape. We're still going on landscape.
Have you ever met a celebrity and you don't have to say who they were or somebody that's like important and been so disappointed because they were such an a-hole?
So disappointed.
Or I guess maybe you weren't surprised, but you're like, oh, screw that person. I just don't like people that think they're important or like above other people.
I mean, you know, I hate to because we keep bashing on him. I mean, the Pineda thing was a little disheartening, where you know we're all like I watched Pineda for years, right? And I'm like, God, this is the first time I'm going to get to see him in person, right? And then you know he was like, I don't know, half hour late or something, and then it was very awkward. It was like the most awkward. Guys, you're not asking me questions. I have so much value to give me. You should better ask me questions. And I was just like, whoa, okay.
Like, how do you manage your schedule, sir? How do you stay so on top of everything?
Right. So I'll think about it. But the first one that comes to the top of mind would be Pineda.
Yeah, I can't think of any top of mind, but that also was mentioned. Dion folks did say next year's event, if you do have a certain handle or tag on social media, introduce yourself that way.
Or put it on your name tag, maybe under your name. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. So that was, you know, a lot of times people may introduce themselves and they couldn't put it together until after. But that is one thing.
I think it would be cool, like, because I noticed this with like Millennial Mike. So he was wearing, and I made fun of him. I was like, oh, it's so good to be around royalty, because he was like had the king of Gary on his shirt. And he actually gave me a shirt. I worked out in it the other day. Sent him a picture of it. But you know, I think it'd be kind of cool. You know, before the conference, on day one, whatever your channel is, go make. You know, it doesn't cost very much. You probably get a shirt for less than $50. Whatever your channel, make a logo. Then we wear that at the conference. I think that would be kind of cool idea.
Yeah. But I'm surprised. So his shirt went straight to one of your workout shirts.
Yeah. I got up in the morning and the shirt was sitting on my desk right here, and I'm like, put that on this morning.
Our Escape the Rat Race does say though, so maybe on to Emily's point about the VIP. Yesterday, the Amigos video, they did talk about changing the VIP, and it's important. So it's important to watch before you make a choice and decision about it. But next year, assuming the price is the same, VIP would be my choice. So yeah, they're looking at a lot of different ways to improve the value of the VIP tickets. I believe.
Obviously, don't listen to me. Do what you want to do. I have a very weird personality.
No. Well, so they did feel like it wasn't worth it this year. I would say. They like next year. I think they're gonna move some of the rooms around. So where the podcast, that glass room is gonna move to where Dion had his room. And they're gonna have like live sessions going on. So it's almost like live recordings. So people can see the speakers having their podcast interviews, I think, with each other, and people can sit in on it and take in more information. But let's see.
Queen Lynn.
Yes, Lynn. Oh, that's another pick. So Lynn, as of right now, I mean, unless you guys screw up something, but Emily, Lynn, and Justin are my picks for speaking on stage next year. Those would be my 3 picks.
That'd be pretty fun. Like I would need to know like pretty quick because like I'm getting married on New Year's Eve.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
So wait, are you going to be there though?
Say that again.
Are you going to be there, or it depends?
So yeah, we're planning to take a full month vacation. So then I was like, ooh, so maybe if I was a speaker, then I'd probably try to rearrange it, or do 2 weeks, come back to Vegas, and then do 2 weeks or something like that. But yeah, I was like, oh man, moving it up to Martin Luther King. I was like, that might be a problem, but you know, TBD. We haven't planned it yet. We actually used ChatGPT to try to figure out what to do, and so it was saying because we like the snow, so like she wants to go to Switzerland, back to Lucerne with the snow, but then I want to do the over the hut bungalow thing, and I can't remember if they said to do Bali or something like that. So we'd be like going to Switzerland, then we'd stop in Dubai, hang out for there, and then go to I think it's Bali or one of those cities in Asia over there.
Nice.
Well, maybe I can mention something to him and say you're getting married, so you need to know right away. But those will be my three picks as of right now. Emily, Lynn, and Justin are going to be my picks for speaking at next year's event. Yeah. Anything else from you guys? I think this was a great session. You guys want to have any final words about? It doesn't have to be about the event. It can be about the video. But anything else you guys want to say about the event?
All I want to say, and I'm actually going to make a video about this, but maybe now I won't because I'll say it here. I think most of the people I talk to are doing better than they think they are, and then they give themselves credit for. And it's always someone says, well, I have a couple, but not as much as this person or whatever. If you're doing it, you're doing it. I mean, think back to when you had no properties and you probably would have been so happy to have a couple. And now you have a couple because someone over here has 100. You feel like your couple's not enough. As long as every day you're doing something to move yourself forward and you're not stagnant. Now, a lot of us have to be honest with ourselves, but I think most of the people I talk to are doing better than they think that they are. And you also don't need somebody's permission to keep moving the needle forward and succeed. I feel like, we think we're going to ask someone a question, like when Ryan or what Pace Morby said, people always ask me, how do I start? And if you've started, you know what the next step is. And it doesn't have to be this big, here's what I'm doing in a year. But every day you need to make something for yourself in the morning that I'm doing this small thing to move my needle forward or to just inch forward closer. Maybe it's scheduling an appointment. Maybe it might be something small, but some days we literally do nothing to move our goals forward. So even if you start with one tiny thing and then you get more optimized and it's 3 things a day and 5 things a day, make sure you're doing one little step every day and you're holding yourself accountable. But other than that, like a lot of the people I talk to, you guys are killing it. And I just don't think you realize, or we realize, even me, how great you're doing. Because if I compared to where I started and the times I was crying because, oh my God, I had no money, I can't buy anything, to where I'm at now, I'd be like, holy shit. But of course we compare ourselves to other people. So everyone I talk to is doing awesome. Keep doing awesome. Don't discount where you're at. That was kind of what I took away from everybody I talked to.
Anyone still watching? If you are here and if you haven't, please go subscribe to Justin's YouTube channel and Emily's YouTube channel. Emily just came out with a great video with Dylan. What Osman? What was the last
Yeah.
name?
Mhm.
Dylan Osman. And yeah, to your point though, Emily, there was MJ who's at the event. He was on my channel before. He did an interview with Zuber recently, but he introduced himself in school and he said something. I think it was, I only have 3 rentals, and I said, hey, take the only away.
Yeah.
Like so.
Fuck that
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. Justin, any final words from you?
For me, like I always love going to these events and seeing people progress their stories, and hearing, like, if I helped anybody, I love hearing that. Just like how Deanne talked about the video, like when somebody buys something, like I felt like I bought something. If you help them, that's really cool. And then in terms of like what I'd like to see moving forward, a couple things I wrote down. I'd love to see more like actual creative financing deals, like meaning here's the property, here's the seller, here's the deal terms, real world. And then for more community aspect, depend on how we'd set it up, but you could have like a best deal or biggest, I don't like to call it a loss, your biggest learning. And then we could have, an hour session, and it could be like, say it's 10 people, they get 5 minutes or something to go over their best deal. That the more participation of real world examples, I think, help people. Because like I know me personally, back to the pace thing, I literally would take something he would say then I would literally go apply it to this other thing. And
Something
that's
tangible.
exactly. And it's like, oh, that's this specific thing. And then you can take it and apply it. So if we can get into more specifics, and this is one I did a video with Dion. I think I said that too. Is like when we, if I was to present, I would probably here's an actual deal. Here's how I did the creative financing, or here's how I did the deal structure or the partnership. So then people can get an idea. And then I'd say, here's what went well with it. Here's what didn't go well with it. Right. So I think that's where we can get further into the details. We'll get more tangible results out of that.
Flavio's asking, Justin, when is your next event?
March 9th. And I planned out the entire year. And it turns out, for whatever reason, the second Monday of every month, I'm in Seattle. So every meetup is the 9th or the second Monday. And I'm actually having my VA. She's booking. Turns out Total Wines and Moors has these like rooms you can rent that have 30 to 40 people for free. So I'm like going to all their websites around Seattle and just gonna do all the meetups there.
Tomorrow I'll be back at 9 a.m. Pacific with Bitcoin Nick, and Bitcoin is still around. It hasn't gone to zero yet, but we'll have our weekly wrap up. And then Sunday, I'll have a special live stream, 8 a.m. Pacific, with the one and only Michael Zuber. So he says, bring all your questions. Doesn't have to be about the event only, but bring anything you want to know about him. But we might be going for about 2 hours on Sunday. And I think that's all I got. So thank you folks for doing this. Emily, it was nice to finally meet you in person. I think everyone will be voting for the both of you to speak at next year's event. So thanks for doing this, and I'll see you folks next week.
Thanks for having us. Bye.